Thank you, listeners, for joining us. It's time for the Wednesday County Update in advance of this afternoon's regular county meeting. Actually, things will kick off at 1:15 with an Elko County Fire Protection District update, and Chief Matt Peterson will lead the way there. Today's guest is Brian Gale. He's our Elko County Commissioner. Thank you, Brian, for being on the program. As always, we appreciate you being here today.
Hello, Lori. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. It's not a super jam-packed agenda, so we have some other cool topics that we'll be able to kind of fold in because, Brian, you're busy representing the community in a lot of good ways, and I think people will appreciate getting that update, so thank you. So first of all, the County Commission, as I said, will meet 1:15 with the fire protection business, and tops on that agenda is the City of Wells interlocal agreement. They're willing to pay for fire facilities as well as fire protection services. This agreement came back before the County Commission, right, Brian? And how do you think it looks going into it?
I think it looks very promising. Our county fire chief, Matt,
Matt Peterson.
Thank you.
You're fine. You got a lot of new people to meet.
Sorry about that, Matt. He's really been working hard to get the best protection the county can have. In Wells, they've had a lot of things kind of slip a little bit. What they needed was basically someone like Matt, but they only need a little chunk of him. And this way, they'll get the protection they need, and they get the county's expertise with shuffling papers and organizing training and things like that. They should have much better coverage with this agreement.
And it does seem reasonable in that this is not unusual. There are MOUs with, say, the Sheriff's Department. They provide the deputies there that patrol wells, right?
Right.
Yep.
So this will be a little bit different. As I understand it, the county won't be placing a person there, but it will be covering it.
That makes sense.
Because one person couldn't handle all of the responsibilities, the very small fraction of responsibilities that has to happen. So the county will provide the service and take care of things, but you won't always see one feller there.
Exactly. They provide facilities, equipment, apparatus maintenance. The City of Wells will budget $30,000 a year for that. And then they'll also kick in $100,000 a year for the actual fire protection service. There'll be adjustments based on the service needs and cost increases. They want to encourage residents to do their fire mitigation. And you, Brian, know of all people living in rural Nevada that Wells will continue to rely heavily on their volunteers.
Yes. It's when the fire actually happens, there's a lot more need for help. A lot of the times when you're in the preparation or mitigation, there's not much to do. But when fire breaks out, all hands on deck, so to speak. And yes, so that will still be an extremely large portion of their of the service there.
So, Brian, and where you are, how is it going with the fire protection district? I think Chief Peterson, in his annual report, he was very appreciative of the support he's gotten from rural and ranching communities in propping up the fire service. And he's been doing his best to replace the apparatus and provide training.
Yeah, he really has. Over the last, say, 15 or 20 years that I've been there, I've seen a huge improvement in the equipment we have in Ruby Valley. We just got a new tender, a tanker truck, basically. And our old one was, pretty tired. That's the one that I usually drive. And our volunteer fire department in Ruby Valley is extremely active. We have a great chief in Logan Sampson, or captain, I don't know what we call him. What we call him, Logan, is what we call him. And he really keeps on top of our training and make sure everybody knows how to run everything, make sure everybody's comfortable so that when the need arises, we're all there. We just had the Neff Mill just had fire a short time ago, and we had a huge turnout from all over the county. A lot of the departments came and helped out, and because of that, the building's still standing. And of course, they have a lot. There was vast losses there, but it could have been much worse without the help of the community and the local fire departments.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Brian. It's good to know. Our Elko County Commissioner is also an active member of the Ruby Valley Volunteer Fire Department. You drive the tender, and you guys put on an amazing steak fry every year, too, the fundraiser, by the way.
We have missed for a couple of years, but yeah, that's always a big hit on the 4th of July.
Yeah, so hopefully that can be revived soon. It's an important tradition locally. So the county commissioners will meet at 1:30 in regular session, and just kind of checking over the agenda. There'll be a few items pertaining to the National Library Month. You'll get an update, for example, from our local librarians. I know in talking with them, they were a guest on Elko Live earlier, and among the concerns are they do rely on some federal funding that comes through the national museums and libraries for the bookmobile, Brian. And I'm not sure if you'd heard about that yet, but I think it's about a $17,000 cut is what they were saying.
Oh, boy. Well, I hope we can fill that gap. I really appreciate the bookmobile. I don't actually use the bookmobile myself very much. The bookmobile I use is on my phone in the Libby app. I get a lot of mileage out of that. But the kids just love, the bookmobile, and that day's a pretty special time for them to come and, pick out a book or two.
Well, that's nice to hear. That's still an important Ruby Valley tradition. I guess the first bookmobiles used to be horse-drawn buggies. Those librarians were determined to get out to places like Ruby Valley.
Wow, I don't recall that, Lori. Apparently, I haven't been here as long as you.
No, I don't. Well, I'm just referring to. I haven't been there that long either, but referring to the history of our librarians. So super cool. So good to hear. You'll be on hand for that. The library presentations. There'll also be some discussion on kicking off the America 250 Nevada National Initiative. This is ramping up to 250 years of America, and communities large and small across the country will be participating in various ways.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what we can do to celebrate that. It's beyond just celebration. As we continue to do that, then we remember. And if we'll remember the date, perhaps we'll remember some of the concepts or some of the principles that brought about the initiation, our founding of our country.
We haven't talked a lot about, but hopefully there'll be a big turnout and a lot of support for 4th of July festivities this year, usually from the Elko County Fairgrounds. It is a legislative year, so I think the Ellison family's pretty busy taking that on, but there are some other folks that I'm sure are waiting to step out and support that, but gearing up for the big 250 celebration. The City of Elko Arts and Culture Advisory Committee, they're working on a sculpture for downtown, and I think they're revamping an initial proposal. They wanted to put a big "We the People" sign on the side of a hill, but now they're going to scale it down so it can be a sculpture in downtown Elko. But I believe they're pursuing the "We the People" concept.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, that could turn out to be very lovely.
And it will be, I think, in the vicinity of the courthouse, so everybody can enjoy it, or at least in that downtown area. So more to come from Arts and Culture Advisory. And so, Brian, what do you think about the concerns over Spring Creek Association homeowners' road maintenance fees? That's on the agenda today. Yeah,
so the problem there is there are a number of people who live in the Spring Creek area that are not part of the homeowners association. Those people who live in the area, they derive benefit from the roads that are owned and that are maintained by the HOA, but apparently they haven't been contributing, or the most part of them have not been contributing. So it'll be interesting to find out how we're able to incorporate that contribution to make sure that everybody's able to pull their share. I don't believe that anybody wants to shirk their responsibilities or their duties, and so I don't know how we're going to do it. I know there's a list that we're presented with, all the people who were sent bills essentially this year, and there were very few who responded with a payment. I don't know if they recognized that the bills were legitimate and they were actually necessary. I know I have a terrible habit of throwing away anything that I'm not expecting or that I don't absolutely know is on fire. But I'd like to. It'll be interesting to see how we can gather that money that's required to maintain those roads.
Was there any indication, what is is it an annual assessment, Brian, or did that?
That's what I understand, somewhere in the neighborhood of 3/4 of what would be expected with the HOA dues.
Okay, all right. And I think HOA, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's still less than 100, but I could be totally off base. $100 a month or something, 120?
Maybe a month, yeah.
Yeah, a month, yes, definitely. Okay, that'll be an interesting conversation. I believe there is ordinance to support that, and this was brought about by a homeowner concern, and Sharon Labartz is on record, and she's the one that stepped up to say, hey, we need to collect these fees and help maintain the roads, which are paid for by the homeowners association. So that'll be an interesting discussion. Roads are also a topic under the Board of County Highway Commissioners portion of the meeting, and that's micro-surfacing and restriping Palace Parkway, Sundance Drive, South Fork Road, and Last Chance Road. It's only about 12 miles, but it's pretty pricey, right?
Yeah, well, it's nowhere in the neighborhood of brand new road.
Definitely.
A brand new road, I'm told, will cost about, and I'm told this because I live on a dirt road and I'd like to see a brand new paved road in Ruby Valley, but I'm told that it costs around $1 million a mile. So if we can resurface those for, it seems like I saw $800,000 for all of the miles, and that 12 miles. Yeah, micro surfacing. Yep. Yeah, that's definitely a way to preserve it. It seems like a pretty good investment to hold on to those.
You might talk
roads.
to former Commissioner Brad Roberts about how to get that section in Ruby Valley paved. I think he was successful in getting something out in his neighborhood. So before he left office, so there might be a technique to it, Brian. So moving on. Something that we don't know, or I didn't know a lot about, but it's been on the agenda, I think, before, the C-PACE program. It enables property owners to access long-term private financing for some improvements. Repayment is made through a voluntary assessment on their property tax bill. And do we know if it's state or federal or?
Yeah, well, this is kind of new. We've heard a brief presentation before on this, and I don't know how I feel about it exactly. From what I understand, rather than a homeowner taking a loan, that payment is guaranteed by the taxes. So there's an additional assessment with your county taxes, and I don't know if it's beneficial for the homeowner. I think the homeowner will pay for it. If it's not beneficial, if there's no return on investment, then the homeowner won't make that investment. And so we have to come up with creative ways to fund the investment. I don't know. I just think we should let the market do, which in this case would not support tying repayment to these loans to collection of taxes.
It is an interesting concept, and I'm sure there'll be more information on that presentation. I was just thinking about it too, Brian, in the sense of, would it work better, say, in a city, because it allows commercial property owners to finance improvements? And we've all seen what some of these dilapidated properties, Idaho Street motels, and, when they end up, apparently this is the kind of infrastructure that benefits multi-tenant or investment properties. And like you said, there's a lot to consider. And then who owns the property if they so-called default, right? I mean, does it revert back to...
Well, it stays, the loan stays with the property for the next people who buy it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So it's pretty complex, and generally I try to avoid complex things. But in this case, I think we're talking about energy efficiency, which is a good thing. However, I think it might be getting too much playing time on a national stage. I have issues with some of the energy saving techniques.
Yeah, this one does include the solar panel installations, and that has been, somewhat.
Well, solar panels for me are pretty important because we've got wells that, if I don't have a solar well, then I have to go out there, a lot more often and keep the pump running. And I really like the technology, but I'm afraid that this method will cram the technology in a place where it wouldn't otherwise be feasible.
Oh, interesting. So that'll be item K up for discussion on this CPACE program. I hope I'm pronouncing that, sort of an acronym I'm thinking, but that'll be up for discussion. It is for possible action. It would be for the county to adopt the Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy Program in Elko County. So that will be discussed during today's regular meeting. I know, Mormon crickets.
Everybody loves Mormon crickets.
Everybody wants to hear about the Mormon crickets. So the news from Ruby Valley about Mormon crickets is...
Oh, from Ruby Valley, I think we saw about 100 of them last year. We're not excited to see an increase this year. We haven't had them. Down south into the valley, we had them about 15 years ago down at the hatchery, down at the refuge. They were there. But further up north, we hadn't seen them at all. But this last year, we did. We did see them. So I don't know if they're coming over the top or not. Where I saw it was right up close to the forest. And so they might have summited and are on their way down. We haven't seen much in Ruby Valley. The main problem, of course, is on this side of the Rubies.
Yeah, certainly Spring Creek, the hospital was swarmed. I mean, there are numerous properties, commercial, residential. They're a pest. They're a nuisance. There's a lot of infrastructure in place right now, a lot of operations related to controlling Mormon crickets, and that will be discussed on the agenda today, including setting up this. What do we have in a district now? A weed control and pest abatement improvement district.
Yes, right. So the idea of setting that up will hopefully improve what we're getting. The county has done quite a bit to try to beat back Mormon crickets. It's important to remember, however, the Mormon crickets don't kill anybody. In the initial settlers, they're called Mormon crickets because the early Mormon settlers had issues with them where they were eating all the crops, and they would have caused significant hazard to life and property. Nowadays, they just stink and they're ugly. And so, though the county will work hard to abate them, it's important to remember that it's not going to kill anybody.
And they should move through. Usually they march through. I mean, there might be some waves of them, and it is especially annoying.
And it's not a new thing either.
Exactly. I mean, they are I think they're prehistoric creatures anyway. They only hatch in cycles, so that's why we haven't always seen them.
Right.
And what happened, I believe, during when they were devouring the Mormon settlers' crops is that there was the seagulls came in.
Yeah.
So they had natural predators.
So the state bird of Utah is the seagull.
Yes.
For that, I guess the people all prayed, and then along come the seagulls, and they gobbled them up, and then they spit them out, and then they gobbled up more. I mean, it's a great story, and it's something that we can't really recognize today when we travel, across the entire salt flat in an hour. we can't sympathize with what those early settlers went through, but it's good to think about it and hear their stories for sure.
Brian Gale is our Elko County Commissioner and our guest here on Elko Live today in advance of the regular County Commission meeting. Let's see, is there anything else that really jumps out? I know the Great Basin Children's Advocacy Center is on the agenda. They'd like to build a garage on their campus, and they do have leftover money from the Pennington Foundation. And then they've applied for what's known as the VOCA grant, the Victims of Crime Act grant. That's important to their operations. There is a match, but apparently their match is covered through private donations.
Yeah, it's, occasionally these things happen where people ask us, request that the county commission approve expenditure of funds. And when they can come up with the funds themselves, it's almost a no-brainer. It makes it super easy. In my position, when I'm sitting there, I can say aye all day long for things that are paid for by themselves.
Yeah, the county is going through some gyrations, I guess, with the budget, Brian. Not as much as the city, I don't think, because the city's short in sales and use tax revenue by about $2 million. So very concerning. They're tracing it to a software issue with the State Department of Taxation.
Yes, that's right. I think that software issue is being resolved. There's been another payment out of a different schedule, out of time. Anyways, I think they're getting a handle on that now. But also, I do think that the tax is less this year, but not that much less.
Right, not the $2 million hole.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
I'm glad you brought that up because that is a good transition. You were able to attend the Lincoln Day dinner hosted by Elko County Republicans, and among the speakers that you said impressed you was the state controller, Andy Matthews.
Yes, yeah, he really did. I wish I would have taken better notes, but and I don't know the fellow very well, but it seems like he's really got his stuff together. I wish everybody could have heard it.
Nothing that jumped out in particular, or was he able to talk about this software issue? Or
Funny thing, I bought a table for the dinner because, now I'm a dignitary, I guess, and I peopled the table with a bunch of my friends, and I knew that there was going to be speeches, and so I prepared some bingo cards. So we played political speech bingo. And, one of the words was Doge, and one of the words was Greenland. And Greenland actually did never come up. So, unfortunately, I didn't get a bingo off of that. But it was really fun. It was really fun, too. And I think he did hit a couple of them. He might have hit fentanyl. That was definitely on the card.
Well, that's exciting. You may have to market those. That sounds like an untapped market, Brian, for those of us who've attended these things over the years and think, wow, it'd be nice to have a little distraction right now to help us focus, right, and concentrate.
Everybody was it was funny to hear when they'd hit one of our buzzwords, then the people at my table just get excited and mark off their card.
Were you the only ones doing it? I bet everyone was jealous.
Well, yeah, I'm the only ones that I know of, but there were lots of tables there.
Oh, good. Brian Gale is Elko County Commissioner. Sorry, got a little cough going here. So tell us about, also you've been engaged, as I was mentioning, the last couple of days. You still continue your concern and involvement for school children throughout the Elko County School District. So you were engaged in a community effort to distinguish the learner profile?
Yeah, so the term that they've used is learner profile, which basically, there's a lot of new vocabulary associated with it. I spent the last couple of days with a number of other people from the community and from our education professionals, working together with some facilitators, trying to come up with the word they use is proficiencies. It's a plan that will help guide our education in the future. The couple of days, I believe, were very beneficial. We got to think deeply about the knowledge and the skills and the dispositions that we would like our Elko County students to achieve or to develop before they graduate. We'd like it so that when people hear that a student is from Elko County, they have a certain expectation of excellence and well-roundedness. And right now, of course, the entire state of Nevada and many other states are having challenges in their education, and it's time. It's a different world now. We need to maybe approach things from a different angle, a different paradigm, perhaps. So it was really beneficial, I think. We'll see where it goes. This was just the initial phase. It'll last quite a few more months. I was invited to be involved as I represent the commission to the board as the liaison to the Elko County School District, and I'm happy that I have those responsibilities. I've got 4 kids of my own, and their education in my personal priorities has been like number one.
And if I may be mistaken, but you may have that enviable position of having your children in the Ruby Valley. Is there still a one-room school there, Brian, or do they go to Wells?
Yes. No, there's still a one-room school in Ruby Valley. Happily, none of my kids are that age anymore.
They are all older. Okay.
My last one is a sophomore in high school.
Okay. So, and then they go to Wells, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's not uncommon at all. My wife, when she was a student in Ruby Valley, had to board in Elko to go to Elko High. With her experience, she knew she didn't want to inflict that upon her kids, and so we wound up buying a home in Wells just so the kids could live there during the week. So it's a challenge. I liked it a lot better when they were always around the place, as I assume anybody would. But we're able to access good public education through that.
And so the goal, are the areas of improvement. I think you did talk about the goal of the learner profile, but the big question is there one problem, right? Is there one thing that needs to be done? What needs to be changed? I know I talked to Congressman Amadei, and he was at the Lincoln Day dinner too, and I asked him about Nevada, or the national, the Department of Education, with it being, defunded. Will the states get the money? And he said, no, that's not the answer, right? It's just to save money, and then the states will still be responsible. So it's not money?
Well, no. If you look at a per pupil breakdown of how much money we spend compared to other countries, we're not getting the bang for the buck that we're spending. So we just need to think about it differently. And as a matter of fact, this entire process, this learner profile development process, if you have an idea, if your listening audience has an idea of elements that they would really like to see covered in public school, I wish they would get a hold of me and let me know, because we want this process to be community-wide. We want, as a matter of fact, at the workshop, there were quite a few members of various professions in the community, along with the educators. I'm just certain there's some rock out there that hasn't been turned over, and it has a gold nugget under it. And that's what we're looking for. If there's things that you really want our students to incorporate into their education, if there's elements that need to be emphasized more, please let me know, or let C.J. Anderson know, of course, the superintendent.
Thanks, Brian. And as you mentioned, this is an ongoing process, so there is plenty of opportunity to participate. Thank you for giving us the update on some things we would not otherwise know. We're both continuing to support, to monitor, the fair board, to make sure they feel supported going into the fair. I know that's an important issue for you. You want to see the biggest best fair ever. The biggest Ferris wheel, the biggest cotton candy, all of it.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's real funny. To me, the fair is not the Ferris wheel. It's the animals.
That's true. That's true. Yes, yes. Yeah.
But the most participation, definitely.
Yes. And we're off to a running start with the thoroughbred and parimutuel racing. So that's good. And none of our local doing, but a Utah trainer is definitely under investigation and, maybe prosecuted. Apparently he drugged some horses that were in last year's races with cocaine. I know. Yeah. Of all the things.
Well, I hope none of the show animals were drugged with anything.
No, absolutely not. Those 4-H or those livestock handlers take very good care of their livestock, Brian. But what a story, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything that we didn't get to today before we head you downtown? You have to get to the fire protection meeting at 1:15.
Yeah. I think we covered everything on the front of my mind. I better cast off.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Brian Gale is Elko County Commissioner and our guest here on Elko Live today in advance of the regular County Commission meeting. It starts at 1:30, but Matt Peterson would like you to be there for the fire protection meeting at 1:15.